IELTS, the International English Language Testing System. What's the number one way to improve your band scores or prepare for the test? Vocab. Study vocab. Let's discuss all 4 sections. Speaking. Of course, they're testing you on your vocab ability and vocab knowledge in the speaking test. If you search online for the IELTS band score descriptors, the public version, you can find a list of how they actually score these tests. There's one section for the speaking section called lexical resources. Just a fancy way of saying vocab. So yes, of course, they're measuring you on your vocab, idioms, phrasal verb abilities. But there's another section called Fluency and Coherence. Yes, this is about how smoothly you're speaking. But there's a section in there called Discourse Markers. These are those little speaking connecting phrases. And there's a good set of ones to use and a bad set. This is kind of related to vocab. Here's the bad ones. Don't say, day by day, as time goes by, every coin has 2 sides, every hand has 2 sides, on one hand. And then you forget to say on the other hand. You have to say both. Those are bad. Those are overused discourse markers. You need a greater variety, just more. Here are some good ones. Do say, oh, interesting question. Well, if you ask me, well, if you have to ask, I'll have to answer. Oh, thank you for asking that question. Well, in my view, those are much more common and natural discourse markers. The writing test. Of course, they're measuring you on your vocab ability. Again, the public band score descriptors for writing. Just search for that. IELTS public band score descriptors, task 1 and 2. And you'll see a section in there for lexical resources. That's vocab. But they have another one for coherence and cohesion. And this is just about how you're organizing your writing. And they have something else called cohesive devices. These are those little connecting phrases again, kind of like the speaking ones, but this is for writing. How you organize your ideas, organize your paragraphs, using words like therefore, however, and so on, consequently, in spite of, despite of. Those are cohesive devices. You need a greater variety of those devices. For task 1, there's lots of connecting phrases to analyze the bars and charts and graphs. The profits gradually increased. The profits dramatically plummeted. The information in the chart radically changed. Lots of those adverbs. But that's not measured in the vocab section. That's measured in the task achievement and coherence and cohesion. But it's still related to vocab. The listening test. Yes, even the listening test is a vocab test. It's the best way to improve your listening skills and scores is to practice phrasal verbs. That's right, phrasal verbs. In the listening test, they're going from formal written forms. In the test booklet, it'll have a formal written form of a question. And in the listening passage, they'll probably say something that's an informal phrasal verb speaking form, kind of like a synonym. And you have to match these up. So here's a real example from one of the practice tests. You can search this online. Just go to YouTube and find IELTS Book 14 Test 2. It's the listening. It's a YouTube file. And question number 26. Scroll to the 20-minute mark of the YouTube video. 20 minutes. It's exactly at 20 minutes. One of the questions is asking about the discovery of a mammoth tooth, and they wanted to know what to do. You have to listen for what they say and choose one of the best choices for the topic of what they say. And one answer is contact one of the researchers. But they don't use the word contact, they use something different. Let me play.
I thought maybe we could get in touch with the researcher who led the team and...
She says, I thought maybe we could get in touch with the researchers. The answer booklet has a phrase that says we should contact the researchers. Those are synonyms. Those match. That's what I mean. The question booklet, the actual task, will have the written formal version. The actual listening passage will use the speaking form. Phrasal verbs are very important to speaking, to writing, as well as listening, because that's how we speak. And that's what the listening test is. You're listening to people speak. Practice your phrasal verbs. The academic or general reading test. What kind of test is this? A reading test? Yes. And no, it's a vocab test. This one really is about vocab, especially the academic test. It's testing you on your knowledge of academic vocab and synonyms. So I have another example for you. This is from a real-life article. It's called, Is Google Making Us Stupid? It's a very long article, a very academic article. Just Google search that article, Is Google Making Us Stupid? If you can read this and understand most of this article, good. You're going to do well on the IELTS test. You'll get a really good band score, 7 or 8. If you can't understand this article, you need to practice your vocab. You need to learn more academic vocab. And I'm going to give you an example of a question. This is not from a practice test. This is a worksheet that I actually made myself. And here's the task question. This is based on the true, false, or not given section of the reading test, of the IELTS reading test. A very notoriously difficult section. True means it matches. False means it's the opposite. Not given means they didn't discuss it at all. So here's the question. The author thinks someone has been changing his brain chemistry. Changing his brain chemistry. Do they actually talk about that in the article? Do they say the opposite? Or do they just not even talk about that information? Here's the passage as they said it in the actual article. Someone or something has been tinkering with my brain. Tinkering with my brain. That's a phrasal verb. What does tinker with mean? Tinker with means change. Actually, it means more like fix something that you really don't know how to fix. But it does mean change. The answer to this question is true. The author thinks something or someone has been changing his brain chemistry. Something has been tinkering with his brain. All 4 sections of IELTS are testing your vocab. Speaking, writing, listening, informal phrasal verbs versus formal written phrases. And of course, the reading test is testing your academic synonyms, sometimes even phrasal verbs. It's all about vocab. Study your vocab.